Hey folks, this is your host Mandeep. It's January 31st, 2020, and I'll do a quick recap of some of the trades using the Ultimate Trading Strategy. Those of you that are not familiar with the Ultimate Trading Strategy, I'll put a link in the description so you can watch an overview of how this strategy works. But in a nutshell, this is a strategy that's predicated on the concept of multi-time framing. In other words, we look at signals or some of the key technical indicators, and we want those technical indicators to be aligned on multiple time frames. So if you're trading on a shorter time frame, let's say the 15, then we want alignment from 15, 30 hour, 4 hour time frame. Now if you're trading on a bigger time frame like the day, then you want an alignment from day, 2 day, 3 day, week. Now, when you have all of those signals aligned, and we use a little over a dozen indicators, and when the confluence of all of those comes together, the system then triggers a buy. And in general, the way it helps you is that it really puts the probability in your favor when you're trading, when so many indicators of different kinds are aligned, right? Whether they're momentum indicators or oscillators, they're all pointing in the upward direction for a long signal, or a downward direction for taking a short trade. And today was one of those days when the market was trending in the downward direction, and that's something that becomes fairly obvious when you look at some of this data that I display on the top. So in this case, this is basically showing how much volume is flowing in issues that are advancing and how much volume is flowing in issues that are declining. So in this case, on the NYSE, we can see that there was 6x more volume flowing in issues that were declining. And likewise on the Nasdaq, there was 4x more volume that was flowing in issues that was declining. And the ratio, since it was like 7-to-1, 4-to-1, it was a trending day, and it was a trending day in the downward direction, which is fairly obvious. And the other thing that I talk a lot about is something I compute called the market thrust, right? The market thrust is basically a combination of how many issues are advancing and how many are declining, and how much volume is flowing in issues that are advancing and how much volume is flowing in issues that are declining. And based on that, I've come up with a theoretical formula. And when this ratio drops below 0.39, which it is in this case, this thing turns red, and it's a market in the downward direction between 0.39 and 0.6, so it's neutral and is yellow, and then above 0.61, it's actually a bullish trend, right? So that's kind of the overview, and then we look at multiple different indicators, right? But in theory, none of these really matter to an end user, because what really is important is the buy signal that you end up getting, and every signal that we end up using, even though we're displaying them on the chart, it's basically encapsulated in the buy sell signal, right? So it'll give you when to enter the trade and when to exit the trade, and some of these lists will give you how to select your stocks, so we have like an intermediate long list, an intermediate short list, a day trading long, and a day trading short list as well. So one of the things that I've done is I've actually been tracking the performance of the Ultimate Trading Strategy on a website which is called Collective 2 here, and we can take a look at how the system has performed here. So as you can see, this strategy, I've been tracking the results since October of last year. So there was 3 months of data from last year, where we have an average return of 19.5%, and then for 2020, which is just 1 month, we've returned about 18%, right? This the month that just ended, and even on a day like today, when the market was trending in the downside direction, we were able to make some trades, some on the long side, some on the put side, to come up with some decent cash flow, I would say, for a day like today. So overall, the system has taken 77 trades. Out of 77 trades, 62 have been profitable, and we've got a hit ratio of 80.5%, which is pretty good. And every month so far has been a winning month, and I hope that will continue. Now, as you can scroll down, one of the things you can see is every trade that's taken, and these are trades that I took today. So there were 4 trades I took today, and one of them was a loss of $107, and the rest of them were up. This was up 300, so about 600, 866 minus about $100. So you still ended up making about 700 or $750 on a day which was really trending in the downward direction. So clearly there was, this was the trade on VXX, which is a volatility index, and of course it moves inverse to the market, and we traded it at 64 cents and exited the trade at 92 cents. I also had a short trade on UPS that was profitable as well, and there was another trade called XLRN, which I'll show you in a moment as well, and then there was a trade on silver, which was a 3x ETF, which I didn't want to assume too much risk, and I could have been a little bit more patient, and this would have been fine. So anybody can go back and take a look at this data. It's collective2.com, and I'll leave a link for that in the description as well. So the good thing about this site is that whatever trades that I enter, they're actually cast in stone, so I cannot change or delete any trade. So good, bad, or ugly, everything is kind of listed, and you can go back and scroll through this and see how well the strategy has been performing. And so I'm pretty pleased with the results, and I've also made some improvements into the software, and perhaps that's actually getting reflected in better outcome as well starting this year, where we've already returned 20%, but 40% or 41% is a pretty decent return for an automated strategy. Now let's go back and look at some of the results. So this is one of the stocks that I actually took long, and you can see there was an entry sort of midway yesterday on the 15-minute chart, but I didn't really take it yesterday. I took the entry today, even though this triggered yesterday. It just kind of caught my eye today, and this is the cloud shows the 9 and the 21 day, and since it was trading above 9, above 21, it was worth sort of taking the trade. I also mentioned I took the trade on VXX, and this one also triggered a buy today. So everything, as you can see, the signals are aligned they're all green, but as I also mentioned, you don't have to really worry too much or understand the intricacies of it unless you want to. And one of the things I do is when people get the software, I actually train them for at least an hour and a half, so that they understand how to use the system. And this trade was profitable as well. We can take a look at the UPS trade as well, and this had triggered a short yesterday, but it's something that I saw a continuation of it today as well, and so took a shot at some point, and this was profitable as well. So the other thing we can look at is trades like in some of the commonly traded stocks, Apple being one of them. And one of the things that I added more recently in this is the ability to see what the profit loss is by just right clicking on the arrow and clicking on the show report, right? And if you go scroll down, you can see what the profit is on on this particular trade, so 15.14. And one of the things you can also do is, it doesn't matter, you can switch time frames to a higher time frame, because sometimes when you're trading on the 15-minute, you'll get a lot of whipsaws as well. And you can trade in the 15, and you can see this last trade of Tesla that triggered. Of course, it was also due to the results, but it's up $84 already in profit. And if we go back and take a look, this traded or generated about 13,000 profit in 23 trades, right? As I mentioned, I give the users an option to backtest any equity on any period of their choice. So one of the things I do is, we default to the aggressive mode when we are trading, but it also has a conservative mode, and in the conservative mode, we are looking for more signals to actually get aligned before you take the trade. So you have a choice of testing on the aggressive mode and or the conservative mode using different time frames. And despite that, there will be certain situations where the end result of the backtest is actually negative, and that suggests that that particular equity is not worth trading using this particular strategy. So that data comes pretty handy. One of the things I do when I'm ready to take a trade on something that I haven't traded in the past, I will take a look at what the back test is, and then if it has been profitable, I would actually take that trade. Now, another thing I wanted to show you is this site called the wixcentral.com, and that lists out the WIX futures for the current month and some of the months after. And when this WIX inverts, in other words, the current month WIX is more expensive than WIX futures are expensive than what's there subsequently. It's telling you there's more uncertainty in the market. So in other words, there's a higher fear factor as of now versus a few months down the lane. And whenever we're in this situation, it's basically gone into what we call contango, and you do not want to be overly long at this point in time, right? So you want to be very cautious and trade with the right size at this point in time. The other thing I have is if you go to my YouTube channel, you will see I have a bunch of other videos that I've created in the past, and now these are just all free and educational videos, and most of them are talking about the ultimate trading strategy or ultimate trading strategy also on the mobile device, but I also have videos that talk about how to create scans on the Thinkorswim platform, and how do you size your positions properly, or how do you select appropriate options and price and expiration for trading. So hopefully you'll find some of those videos useful as well. So once again, thank you for for people that subscribe and follow me. And as most of you know, I do my very best to get back and answer any questions that you folks have, and anything that I can help you with. So have a wonderful weekend. I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.